Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got two replays for you in the French Tier 9 Premium Heavy Tank, the Lorraine AMX M4. Now this is a pretty damn good heavy tank. That's a premium tank at Tier 9, and that's because it's got two choices of fantastic guns. You've got this 120mm gun that is pretty damn consistent, and I really like it. It's just a pretty damn solid gun. And then you've got a 130mm gun that is also just absolutely incredible and absolutely slaps. It's a bit derpier, reloads a bit slower, but you can do quite a lot with it. It's got pretty decent turret armor, this tank, because if you think of the AMX M451 or 54, it's got turret armor pretty similar to those two tanks, where you go hull down, you're going to bounce a good amount of shots off this turret. In terms of hull armor, you basically don't really have any. That's the one thing, because you're basically a Lorraine. You're basically Lorraine 40T with the hull, where it's basically paper. It's a little bit better than the Lorraine, but it's still paper for a Tier 9 in terms of its armour. But this tank has that strength that it is absolutely rapid. And as you've seen, it actually goes at 60 kilometers an hour, this tank. It goes absolutely mad quick. It means that you can play more like, well, to be honest, you're best to play this tank more like a medium tank than you are a heavy tank. Play it like a medium tank, get to those aggressive hull down positions, and then just slap in the rounds with either of the guns that you choose, and you will have a great time. This first replay that you are seeing here has the 120mm gun, and that gun has 264 penetration on its standard AP rounds with 308 pen on its premium, which is really nice. The velocity is also very nice on this 120mm gun as well, because it has 1067 meters a second velocity on its AP, and the premium has 1334, which is really, really good, which is one of the reasons why this gun feels great. And for me personally, I just like the consistency of the gun, because it doesn't feel that derpy. The shell velocity is nice. You're just consistently putting in rounds with this 120mm gun, because you have a 8.75 second reload. Boost it with food, you're down to 8.1 second reload. I mean, that's not as good as some of the other tanks that are going at Tier 9 with the 120mm gun, but it just feels so nice and consistent, like you're going to see in this first replay with the 120mm gun. And add to that, you got 0.27 accuracy with this build that I have for the tank. You got 2.3 second aim time, and you're just having a pretty nice time with it. So in terms of a crew on this tank, I do run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Trap Mechanic, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Off-Road Driving. Off-Road Driving to help me get to that top speed of 60 kilometers an hour, just to limit the chances that the ground resistances hold me back, and I can play more like a medium tank. And all the gun perks to make sure that the gun is as good as humanly possible, because I am a heavy tank. I want my gun to be as good as it can be so I can put the hurt in. And especially when you're using the 130mm gun, you definitely want all those gun perks. And then all the other perks are generally what you're going to take away. That crew is my general template crew for heavy tanks. That's what I take, because I always want to try and make it so that, because heavy tanks are generally slower and they tend to have worse ground resistances than most tanks. Tend to want to make sure that they can help at least get towards the top speed with the off-road driving. And then again, because I'm a heavy tank, for most of them I want to make sure that my gun is going to be able to hit most of its shots, because a lot of the heavy tanks are based around their armor, number one, and number two, just how nice their guns can be at fighting, the gun capacity against other tanks. And in terms of equipment, I run Advanced Loader, Vertical Stabilizers, and Optics. Optics to be able to spot for myself, because with this build I get up to 486 meters of view range, which is really, really nice. It helps you to get a decent amount of spotting on good maps like Prokhorovka. You might see that a little bit in the next replay. And Vertical Stabilizers, once again, to make sure that this gun is as good as humanly possible. It means that I can have more chance of hitting shots on the move and stuff like that, especially when I'm traveling at 60 kilometers an hour. And the Loader to make sure that my DPM is as good as humanly possible. So far, you're seeing in this first game, we're up to 4.1k damage, 762 assistance, and this game we have very, very good matchmaking, and we're going to make the most of it. So we do have very good matchmaking, and when you do get those really nice matchmaking games in Tier 9, because it does happen, not very often, which is why you really have to take advantage of it. And yeah, we're up to 5k damage, just about to finish off this Leopard PTA, and there goes the PTA. That's the kind of shot that I'm talking about with the 120mm gun, where the 130 sometimes just likes to derp, and you can just hit those snapshots really, really easily. The 130mm is definitely not a snapshotty gun. It definitely misses a lot more shots when you're trying to snapshot than this gun. This gun just goes, and you've hit, and you've hit, and you've hit again. Look at that. Whereas the 130mm gun, obviously, naturally, is just that little bit derpier. So we're just going for the cupola shot on this M48 round Panzer. Very bad shot again there, trying to get the cupola of this guy. He was making it as difficult as possible, and he was doing the exact right thing if you have something like a cupola, and that is keep moving backwards and forwards, make it as hard as possible for the enemy tank to get shot into your weak spot, because naturally, if you sit still, I'd quite easily pick off that guy's cupola, and that's exactly what's just happened there. He didn't realise that I could get a shot at him. I mean, I wasn't spotted, and we end up slamming the shot straight through his cupola, putting us on to 5 kills with 6,000 damage. And we know exactly where the last 3 tanks are on the enemy team. There's the heavy tank at F9 and the TD at E9. They're the first 2 spotted, which means there's still 1 tank unaccounted for, which I am fully expecting to be at C8 here on Arctic region, because that's just the way it goes. The Scourge is spotted there, and I'm looking at the Scourge going, yes, I could do with a ram here. Oh, hello, Mr. IKV. Don't mind if I get some shots into you, and he's gone. And I'm looking at the Scourge going, he's clearly going to be facing the 2 heavy tanks in front of him, the 452B and the, was it Fatherland, something like that. They're not, you know, they'll do well against the Scourge, but they're not going to be able to take him apart very, very quickly. So I'm like, yes, please. Hopefully he survives. The Ariete puts him down. We end up bouncing off his ass with AP. So we ram it for good effect. And that's a good way to secure your top gun. You've always got to do it. Always got to do it. If you can ram, ram. And this tank is very good at it as well, because it's like 50 tons. And we finished the game with 6 kills, 6.6k damage. The ace tanker, the high caliber, the top gun, 2k base XP. A really nice game for the AMX Law M4. Oh, the Lorraine AMX M4. Yeah, this tank is also a very good rammer, because it does have that 50 tons. It is 50 tons, and it goes at 60 kilometers an hour. So because you're doing that sort of momentum against tanks and you're going that quick, you do tend to do a fair amount of damage to people if you ram them, if they're obviously of a lighter tank than you. And now we're on to the second replay, which is Prokhorovka. We're on Prokhorovka, and this one, we have the 130mm gun that this tank has, which has 257 penetration on its AP rounds and 300 penetration on its premium AP. So its penetration isn't too much different to the 120mm gun, really. And it has 560 alpha. 560 at tier 9. This gun is satisfying because it hits hard. Now, the funny thing about this gun is that its aim time is actually better than the 120mm gun. So with this setup that we have, you have 2.1 second aim, well, 2.12 second aim time. So you actually get this gun aimed in far quicker than the 120mm gun, and you can slap those shots in so satisfyingly. This gun is very satisfying to use. 592 into that machine. That's juicy. 519, not quite so juicy, but still, it's a hard-hitting gun. I mean, you have a 12.76 second reload with this as well, knocking it down to about 12 seconds with food boost. You got 0.3 accuracy in this one, as opposed to 0.7, 0.27, I should say. Yeah, this gun, obviously, it's derpier because you have 840 meters of shell velocity on both rounds, or on all 3 rounds, really. So your shell velocity is naturally way derpier. Add to that, you got 0.3 instead of 0.27. It's definitely a derpier gun. And you have worse DPM because, you know, you are firing slower. But, I mean, you have 560 alpha. I mean, the DPM on this gun is 2.6k DPM with the build that we've got. And realistically, with the 120mm, you have 2.7, or, yeah, 2,700, just a little bit more than that, on the DPM on the 120mm. So, you have less DPM, your gun's derpier, but you do get aimed in quicker, which means it definitely means that you can... I mean, you can snap shots with this gun a little bit easier because of how fast it aims, but because of the shell velocity and stuff like that, and just the general dispersions on turning the tank and the turret and stuff like that, the gun just does love the floor a little bit more than the 120mm, even though statistically it shouldn't really as much. But you just have to, it means that you do really have to make sure that you are leading your shots with this gun, because if you're firing at distance, it really does take a fair whack to get the shots in on the enemy tanks. If they're moving at 400 meters, you really have to give it some good old lead. But I do love the alpha of this gun, because the alpha is just so juicy. I mean, when you're hitting people 555, and you're rolling between 5 and 600, it's just so nice. It's so satisfying to use. This tank is really good tank. As long as, like I say, you get used to the fact that you have no hull armor, and your strength is getting into a position to go hull down, like we're seeing here on Proc, you'll have a great time with it. So far, we've managed 2.8k damage. We're trying our best to get rid of this I-7 that's gone in with our platoon mate. And unfortunately, the I-7 ends up shutting Seb down. Sorry, Seb. And we are like, okay, the I-7's gone. We've just got to keep our cool. We've just got to keep going, because we are so far just being consistently putting in damage. And we've not taken any damage. We've not really been engaged, really, so far. And we're just trying to keep ourselves consistently firing at the enemy team. We're doing what you have to on Proc, pretty much. And that is always keeping your gun active, but not being too aggressive. Not over-peaking too much, because if you over-peak on Proc and they have enough people sitting in positions to shoot you, your day's going to end pretty badly very quickly, because all your health just goes straight out the window, and then you lose the ability to keep poking this ridge with any sort of consistency. So the Jagdtiger at the back ends up getting spotted. We get a nice shot through his drive wheel there, which actually tracks him in place, putting us onto 4k damage. And once again, you see, I get detected. I'm like, okay, no, I'm not getting shot here. We're just going to keep bouncing up and down on this ridgeline, pretty much. We're not sitting still. We're not sitting still to aim, because that, again, leads to your death very quickly. I decide, you know what? I know the ST1 was down there. I'm still getting shot by something from down there, so we're going to try and get a blind shot into the ST1, but the shot went the shot went exactly where we aimed it. It just wasn't there, because there's the ST1. He ends up managing to pull back underneath the bridge, so we don't quite get the shot at him. And I'm like, okay, I'm unspotted. You know what? I'm going to sit and watch the train tracks, because there is a lot still unspotted and unaccounted for. So the places they usually are is on the train tracks or on the little hill at the back at K6. And there was definitely something firing from back there. Definitely firing from back around their cap, or along, you know, the K6, 7, 8 position, because I kept seeing the shells flying in. So we know there's something there, so we've got to be careful when we do poke. And as you can see, like I said, we are playing careful. The ST1 gets spotted up again. We're just going to slap the shot straight in, 529. Unfortunately, we don't roll high enough to kill him. Would have been quite nice. But once again, just waiting for the reload. Hopefully we manage to poke up and shut this guy down. He has his turret side pointing to us, so we should be able to pen that if we get the shot in. Just make sure we're aiming it properly at the rear end of his turret, because that's the most likely spot to go through. And we ended up shutting that ST1 down. We're up to 4.5k damage with 1100 assistance. The heavy tank and the medium tank at F5. And which is the 780 and something else. And we're just... Again, we're seeing shells flying from back there. So we're going to pop a blind shot to where we thought we saw some shells. It's always worth a blind shot, although we don't really have that much ammo in this tank. But now we've realised the hill's gone. Again, you always keep your eye on the minimap. Always keep your eye on that hill, especially if they've got tanks over there. Well, if you know that they've got some tanks over there and you don't really have many over there. Because clearly they've kind of won the hill. There's a TD spotted at H0, so we're going to go over see if we can help this guy out on the hill. Aim the shot in and slam the shot straight through the CC Mark II. Unfortunately, again, didn't roll high enough to kill him, but it is what it is. It makes him think twice about pushing. Now there's a heavy tank just got spotted at H0, and just as I was going to move across and try and shoot the 780 that's at F5, it's like, okay, maybe I can actually get a shot at this heavy tank if I pull back far enough, but I didn't get into render range to be able to spot it, so I decided, you know what, okay, no, we're going to use this rock on my right to try and protect me from anything that could be sitting at K3, and we're going to try and poke over to shut down the heavy tank. But then somebody shoots at us from the back, and we saw where the shell tracer came from, so I'm just going to bait myself. I'm like, do it. Shoot at me. Come on. You can shoot at me once. You fire an APCR, I'm going to shoot at you. We spot the shell velocity, we spot the shell, blind shoot the TD that is at the back. It is, I think, an STRV. So we actually get a shot into that guy, and I knew where he was. I knew where the STRV was, because I saw the shell tracer. And we managed to pinpoint exactly where his shell was and get a nice shot into him blind. And with the 130mm gun, the STRV 1030, I believe it is, we can overmatch an STRV 1030, so that's fine. But now the team has pushed into that position at K2, K3, which means that we know we're safe to push in because we're not going to get shot by people down that back end. We're going to push forward to see if we can get some juicy assistance, and just look at this. Just look. This is why you push. When you know you're safe from one side and you're not going to get caught in a crossfire, you push because we just got 3,000 assistance nearly on that. Or we got like 2.5k assistance from that one push, which is absolutely beautiful. We're going to poke up over and try and get some spots through the train tracks there, because we spot these 3 guys. We're going to get some assistance if people shoot them. We get a nice snapshot in to shut down the TNH TVZ-51, and we're just going to wait for the reload now to get the shot into the Contracaro or the 257. The Contracaro gets shut down, and we get the final shot in to kill the 257, and we finished the game with 4 kills, the victory, 6.8k damage with 3.1k assistance. I mean, that's nearly that's round and about 10k combined. It's what, 3 off or something like that. And we finished with the Ace Tanker, the High Caliber, the Confederate, 2.2k base XP, a really nice game for the Law AMX M4, a really solid tier 9 premium tank, which actually at the time of this video coming out, I'm pretty sure it's actually on sale again. It's a pretty damn good tank, and you've got the choice of 2 really nice guns, which is always nice to have. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!